to John Doyle Band in conversation with. There was really just John Doyle Band interviewing, and really in the end it's just Derek from John Doyle Band doing interviewing. So it's not conversation and it's not John Doyle Band. But anyway, here's Mags off of Fuzzbox, excitingly.
Woohoo!
Yes, and it's such a pleasure to have you joining me for a chat, and I'm going to
Thank you.
give you a thorough grilling about everything to do with Fuzzbox that you've been asked a million times. So how did it start? You must have hated that constantly throughout. I mean, I was just sort of checking out some old interviews on YouTube recently, and sort of practically every single one of them was, how did it start?
Do you know, here's the thing. I have had the privilege and luck to be in a band, and if I have to for the rest of my life answer that question, it's a small price to pay for everything else. But if you want the answer,
I know we really don't. Create a fictional answer, right? Oh,
do you know when we when we were on tour, we'd get so bored of that question. Things like we met in a crack house, we we were all in rehab, we were all up for adoption, just, sort of prison, anything, sort of. And it was really funny because, sort of no one would sort of let on the story that was going to come forward. So it could be any of us. And we'd just go, yeah, we met in a crack house, sort of, when was it? And then other people would just join in. And it was really, really funny. And some of the interviewers, especially in Japan, they were just like, you met where?
It must be really.
Like, yeah. Now. No, it was, sort of, it was hysterical. How we kept straight faces, I don't know.
I want to sort of look back at maybe things like what was inspiring you just immediately before Fuzzbox happened.
Okay, well, sort of Fuzzbox, obviously 4 people with very different. Vix was much more into sort of rock and roll, big Elvis fan, who I used to hate, but I now love. Doris Day, all sorts of things. Tina was more sort of psychobilly. And Joe and I were very similar in sort of our sort of pop rock music tastes. Big Mark Almond fans. We loved the Smiths. We loved The Cure. We loved. I loved a lot of industrial music like Einstürzen and Neubauten, Tools You Can Trust, and my biggest influence, so a little bit industrial, Psychic TV, stuff like that, Throbbing Gristle, Cabaret Voltaire. But my hugest, I love her so much.
I think I know what's coming.
Danielle.
Yeah. Yeah, I had noticed did you do a cover of one of her tracks?
Yeah, I did. Fizzing Human Bomb.
Yes, and very, very good as well, I'd say.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I really, really thought that was quite excellent. I remember, obviously, I would tend to say that being keen on what you do, but I thought it'd be interesting if we got sort of more of that direction from you, maybe if you went sort of more into doing a little bit more solo, if you explored the sort of more alternative side than the pop of Fuzzbox.
I have written stuff. I'm currently involved in quite an exciting project, so all of that stuff that I much more experimental than the big bang stuff. The interesting thing about sort of Vix and I working together is that I'm quite left field, and she's very pop, and so we kind of meet in the middle. Her solo stuff is very sort of Americana.
Yeah.
Mine's much more mad, really, and it's a lot heavier. So, because I really I like heavy music for me. I mean, I'm learning to play the clarinet and the flute and the recorder at the moment, and I'm playing a lot of classical music, which I absolutely adore. I need somebody sort of thudding a big guitar at me all the time. It's not that. It's horses for courses. So, you know, Vix and I always describe Fuzzbox is almost a thing on its own, and we write for that entity, rather than we bring our own songs to Fuzzbox. Does that make sense? I'm so better for me, no little bit is in human form. Standing at the edge of a precipice, I've pinned up and I've gone.
Were you surprised that you sort of ended up with a record deal after that first gig, which was sort of, I mean, it must have been a crazy situation. This sort of, suddenly you're caught in this strange whirlwind of, yeah, you seem to be absolutely everywhere in the sort of Bostin era. So it must have been sort of, how rapidly did you end up sort of grabbed up by Vindaloo?
It was after our second gig, and Rob Lloyd phoned us, and I thought it was somebody just having a laugh, and I did tell him to fuck off. Stop being stupid.
What an uncouth little girl.
Oh, I'm such a potty mouse. I really, really am. It's filth. But it was rapid then. Once we'd released the single, the single sold. I mean, it sold out within like a couple of weeks, and we'd had 500 printed up, and we couldn't believe that there were 500 people mad enough to buy to buy it, and then it just took off. It was just like we were the golden girls, you know, sort of. You know, we're at number. It just took off, and I think, you know, I think part of it was that we were girls, and there weren't many girls rocking at the time, which is a shame because
obviously there were like women at the front of a band, but an all-girl band that, you know, was doing that sort of thing, I guess, was something very unusual.
It was. Still is.
Yes, I suppose it is now. I mean, even now you're still an all-girl band, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. I mean, Han identifies as non-binary.
Right.
So sort of that's Han's choice, and we're very respectful of that. Increasingly doesn't really matter, you know, so in contemporary gender politics that, you know, we're an all-girl band especially, but it does matter in politics with, you know, big P.
Yeah.
That we are today's today and yesterday, I couldn't work out which one it was, but International Women's Day, and we've got all this stuff about women and, you know, sort of being murdered and stuff.
I know.
And
Latest news is just horrific, and then they put out a sort of statement of what women can do to be safe. And you
yeah,
think maybe there should be more targeting of men telling them not to behave like that, I guess.
yeah. I mean, so if you want in a convent,
Yeah,
that's possibly the best. But I should not have to feel, and it's not the murder stuff that is
no,
stuff
it's
that's
other.
frightening. It's the rape stuff that really
Yeah,
gets me. The the violence and walking down the street and being yelled, you don't get it. You don't get it that every single day that happens to you, and you really can't feel like you can just walk down the street and not be harassed. It's shocking when you think about it.
yeah,
It's just awful. One of the things about getting older is that, sort of you're less attractive in that kind of way. And you can walk about, and it's really freeing.
so it's like general society seems to regard you as a lot less.
Oh, definitely. I think if COVID, for example, was hitting younger people harder, things would have been a lot more locked down, a
Yeah,
lot more
yeah,
quickly. And thank God it hasn't when I get old. And I've got a lot of time for young people. But I think if it was focused in the younger population, that there'd be a lot more measures. It just, I was horrified. I don't know about you, but you have no ambition.
yeah,
Old people are just people
yeah.
who are old.
So going back to Fuzzbox and Bostin, I think I love the record so absolutely much, but I just wonder, the spirit of doing it. It's just there seems to me like I think I saw a review earlier when just sort of looking up general things. They seemed so utterly dismissive of it. Like it's songs about snogging on the dance floor and stuff, but there's so much in there. I mean, XXX, rules and regulations, preconceptions, all that sort of thing, And I just don't understand how they missed that. But also at the same time, there seems a lot of just we're just going to do whatever we want to do. There's no rules. Was it part you didn't know, or just deliberate? We're going to avoid the cliches sort of thing.
Talking again about International Women's Day, and XXX is a song about what people expect from women and how they expect them to behave, even what women should expect out of life. And it ends on the words, rape, rape, rape.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that song sadly has not dated.
No,
and
no.
I think part of the problem with Fuzzbox wasn't that people didn't hear what we had to say, is that they didn't want to hear what we had to say, because it would challenge their views of women. It would challenge what it would mean to be in a girl in a band. It challenged so many different ideologies, and we were a lot smarter as well. That was something that people found really surprising. Was that we could actually we were erudite young women. We read well. We read. Joe was a fantastic wit,
Yes.
and and we were funny and rebellious and annoying. Everything that girls in our position should have been. You were saying about preconceptions. Another song, it's your preconceptions, judging people by how they look.
Yeah.
And I was talking about sort of that from a feminist perspective, but that can work for anything. Sort of a black person, an Asian person, a disabled person. Stop looking at how people look. Listen to what they've actually got to say, because that's the most important thing. And people are too quick to judge, just too quick to judge. And I always like to think that, sort of, I take my time and I consider things, and, sort of, the world isn't a simple place. For example, I would like to think that I'm an environmentalist, right? Sounds, it's easy to say.
Yeah.
Easy to say. You do it. You try doing it and see what happens. And I even know that I justify some of my less environmentally friendly behaviours because I'm offsetting it against something else.
Yeah.
And that's true too. But then that doesn't make me a hypocrite. And it doesn't make me a saint either that I'm doing the stuff that I do.
Well,
life is rich and complicated.
It definitely is, and all we can, I guess, hope to do is just try and do our best and be reasonable. Just try as much as possible to occupy a good space like that. And yeah, so do you think, like, in terms of such as preconception track, like, people saw your trash fashion, which I think is absolutely epic, and it's just that it's going to that, but they saw that and thought, oh, they're just stupid, idiot, sort of teenage girls and stuff. What do they know? But you were frequently vastly smarter than any of the interviewers. You were running rings around them most of the time.
Oh, we loved. It was a sport because they did not know what they were up against.
No.
They didn't, and they probably thought, so when you'd mention stuff, sort of about science or art or poetry, literature, and they were just like, you could just see them going, right, that wasn't what I thought I was dealing with. Now what am I going to do? Because sort of, we would mock some of the interview questions, like, do you ever, these are actual questions that we got asked, do you ever fight over boys?
Would they have ever asked a sort of a male band, or do you fight over girls? They wouldn't, would they?
Oh, no, even worse than that. Do you ever fight over lipstick? Oh, yeah. There's bloodbaths. You ought to see the fights we have over your lipstick. It's epic. How one of us hasn't died yet. It's just, so, and the other thing was, the one about boys, right? Jo was a lesbian.
Yeah.
That was just you didn't need the biggest gaydar in the world.
No, I must admit, I had possibly suspected such a thing, but
To assume that one, did we ever get asked about that? No. But also, talking about our fashions, we'd get sort of stuff from the rag market, or we'd upcycle stuff from charity shops. It was actually quite ethical, our little fashion thing, before we became like Big Bang, when it was like we had uniforms.
But posh.
Well, they were so expensive.
Perhaps a little more on that later, but
expensive.
Like maybe £12 in today's money or something.
No, you're talking a smart second-hand car.
Crikey, that is. I know. I think. What did I pay for my first car? My Vauxhall Astra. Was it like £500 or something?
Oh no!
That was in 2013.
You could get something much better than that for what we paid for our clothes then. Oh yes, you could get something quite, like I said, a smart second-hand car.
That's decidedly. I don't know whether that's an impressive thing or a terrifying thing, frankly.
Oh no, it's awful. We would never have spent that. But once you're involved with a record company, and you're contracted to them, they have a lot of control over what you do, and for some of it you just can't. You need to pick your battles as well. So do you fight over X or do you fight over Y? Because you can't fight for everything. It's like anything in life, anyone who's smart picks their battles. And, but the other thing is, I've got a story about those clothes, forever now. Yeah. So in a way, it's
it's given you a sort of anecdote for dinner parties at least. So I guess can't complain. Also, in the Bostin era, you did some Peel sessions or radio sessions, including Bohemian Rhapsody, which I think is absolute genius, but then I'm rather biased. But I heard that there were a couple of complaints or so with that.
It was brilliant. It was absolutely
Was it deliberately done to upset and sort of destroy a rock classic, or you're just... No. Was it just? I sort of always got the impression that you were doing without any thought of any consequence. It was, we want to do this, so let's do it. Was that the general sort of ethos of?
No. It's even more simple than that. We'd got to Maid of L Studios and doing the Peel sessions, and they said, right, we've done X amount of minutes and now we've got, X amount missing. And we were like, well, that's a bit sad because we don't have any more songs. And they were like, oh. I said, but I know, tell you what we could do. I said, we sing Bohemian Rhapsody in the car, you know, when we're
How very
about.
Wayne's World.
No, yeah, we got there first.
Yeah.
You know, so I said, why don't we just do that? You know, and they went, all right. So they set up this microphone setup in the studio, and we were literally at points when you can hear we've been running. We were running around the microphone, and then we'd stop and go, here it comes, here we go, no, and then and it was hysterical.
And the fun of it, I think, comes through in the recording. It sounds like you're having an absolute blast, and it sounds so much fun.
We were.
And yet some boring old rock men probably just couldn't cope with the idea.
No. It was so funny. When it went out, because we couldn't believe it went out, John Peel loved it. And he said, you know, sort of, when he'd played it the next week, he said, wow, my mailbag has been full. 50% going, what on earth? That isn't music. It's nothing. It's terrible. It's awful. How could you do that? And then 50% going, that is like one of the best things you've ever put on. And I loved that. It was at that moment that I just thought, if people love and hate you in equal measure, you're doing something that provokes a response.
Yeah.
And now for the delight and entertainment of ye Radio 1 listeners, Fuzzbox proudly present Bohemian Rhapsody. Hey! Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? Caught in a landslide, no escape from reality. Open your eyes, look up to the skies and see. What do you see there? I'm just a poor boy. I need no sympathy, because easy come, easy drop, little high, little low. Anywhere the wind blows doesn't really matter to me. To me, bum 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 bum, Mama, bum bum bum, just killed a man. Bum bum bum, put a gun against his head, pull the trigger, now he's dead. Mama, life has just begun. My life has just begun, and now I've gone and thrown it all away. Mama, ooh, when the wind blows, didn't mean to make you cry. If I'm not back again this time tomorrow, carry on, yeah, carry on.
Also, was it she that sort of went wrong several times before you actually got through the song fully? Just trying to recall it. There's hilarious on the CD of it. It starts and then it goes wrong, and then there's much discussion about what. You were supposed to come in there.
Genuine, everything that you hear. I mean, when we did one of our tours, we were supported by this band called Flowers in the Dustbin, and sort of we were in Edinburgh when this happened, and Tina had yet again top. We just went, oh, Tina, come on, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, you know, so whatever. We came off stage, and they were like, we get it now. And we're like, what? Yeah, we get it. You're so good. You're so good at pretending to fuck up that people actually think you have. And I was like, no, we are.
We are. Yeah.
And they wouldn't have it. They just wouldn't have it. They thought we were consummate actresses, and we were just like, and again, you know, sort of, we were talking about perceptions, you know, sort of, where did they get that idea from? Maybe it was because it was happening so often. What we were very good at was making a joke of it, and we became very professional at just going, oh my God, and just, if you can't stop it, embrace it.
Yeah, why not?
You know, sort of, I mean, some of the stuff, oh my God, my favourite, I think, was it was Maastricht, I think it was. And Victoria, she wasn't feeling very well. And so she was requesting medicinal Baileys. And we weren't stopping her having her medicinal Baileys. She was absolutely plastered.
Oh dear.
She was, no, it was brilliant. She was running. She was running around pretending to be an aeroplane and all sorts of stuff. And I just thought, and the audience loved it because she was being the crazy person that they wanted her to be.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, so our manager was going apoplectic, but we knew that if we'd been in the audience and seen that, we'd have loved it. We'd have loved it.
I feel there was just such a... it seems almost there's an innocent sense of fun to a lot of the era of Bostin. I know. It just seemed, as I say, to be just a case of why not, rather than thinking about cool image or anything like that. It was kind of a destruction of pop star entitlement, and it was just like doing High Hopes just seems totally incongruous, but also absolutely perfect. You know, do what isn't expected. You know, that's and avoid those preconceptions again.
Well, we turned up at a photo shoot for I think it was Just 17, and this poor girl was going to be made over, an aspiring model, being made over by us as a Fuzzbox person. And we were there, and they said, right, how long before we can start shooting? And we went, now? And they were like, what? You haven't got any makeup on or anything? And we were like, yeah, this is Just 17, isn't it, for teenage girls? And they were like, yeah. And we want the girls to see that, you know, we don't wake up all gorgeous and lovely. And, you know, so if we made them take pictures of us looking hideous.
Yeah, very.
And, do you know, it got such a positive response in the magazine. They were shocked. They were completely shocked. And they shouldn't have been.
No.
But, you know, we didn't care. That's how we looked. If you met us in the street, that's how we look, you know?
Yeah.
Not getting up every morning, you know, spending hours doing hair and makeup.
No.
It was, we were responsible.
How long did it take to do your looks back then? I mean, I spent probably
about 2 hours.
I know, and I just sort of slap it on as quick as I can. It probably took about 40 minutes or so.
No, it depends what era it was, but so if
I mean, I'm obviously talking Bostin look as ever, you know. Oh, will you shut up about Bostin, like?
No. It's Bostin. It was probably, you know, sort of depending on how crimped our hair was. I mean, it could be an hour. It could be half an hour. Big Bang was different because by then we'd have makeup artists, and so you weren't doing your own makeup.
Yeah.
Take longer to do your makeup. So, and then I'd go and do my own anyway additional. There was only a couple of times when I didn't touch up my own makeup, but you know, so because I wasn't that person. I wasn't an air hostess. I was Maggie Fuzzbox, you know.
Yeah.
Maggie Fuzzbox looked a bit rougher than that. And do you know what I mean?
I mean, I must admit, it's maybe wrong of me, but I kind of, it's, I tend not to like the sort of excess glamour, traditional sort of glamour of the Big Bang era. That is maybe just sort of my issue, really. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with looking at that. But I enjoyed the sort of more alternative, spectacular look of earlier eras. It just felt to me a bit like it's a bit too ordinary and traditionally what is accepted.
I agree with you. When we signed to Warner's, we did actually try to get some costumes done by a woman called Patty Bell, and she designed for Duran Duran and all sorts of people, and they were much more interesting and individual. And the record company wanted us to sort of be more sort of Beatles, Sergeant Pepper, and you know we weren't happy. We weren't happy with a lot of those costumes at all. I just thought they were boring, and you know, sort of, we were 4 characters. That was the whole point.
Yeah.
We were 4 different characters, and to blend us out like that was missing.
Did you
the
miss
whole thing.
the sort of switching roles that used to happen? It settled down to Tina was a drummer, you were a keyboard player or bassist, and Vix was the person at the front, and Joe was on guitar. It settled into that rigid formula. And did you kind of miss like Tina and Joe switching roles occasionally and stuff?
Yeah, we all missed that, but to be honest, that would have naturally...
You think that you settled for what you sort of liked best in the end?
Well, yeah, just because sort of when you're touring and when you're trying to rehearse, it just would have become more polished anyway.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you do something repetitively. Yeah. It just happens. And, you know, sort of, I think people that got to see early Fuzzbox were kind of lucky to see the chaos.
Yeah.
In the nicest possible way.
Yeah.
Everyone knows
I did sort of solicit various questions from people, so I should actually get round to asking you, but I've been greedy and fulfilling my own interest far too much. Ein Kerr Avon, Colin, asked what's the point in explaining it all?
It's because, in truth, there's no reason for it all.
Mel Butler, I suggested
Mel!
Yes, she suggested I give you a virtual snog. So have a virtual snog from Mel Butler. Who a Fuzzbox? Asked Tim Phillips. And do you know what the original Fuzzbox was?
We think it was a muff.
A big muff, was it?
Yeah.
It's funny, my last video interview featured mention of one of those as well. Apparently what you do with a big muff is you turn it up to maximum. So, there you go. Eamon Murtar asks about the transition from being totally indie to being on a label. What did the label insist on? Well, uniforms and Sergeant Pepperishness we've discussed. And what did they not get from you, and was it in the end worth it? I suppose it was for maybe money you got in from it, but and popularity, maybe those. Do you think they could have made it without them? I reckon would have been interesting.
I think there was some other sort of offers that we had, and I wish we'd have taken them. But sort of, you grow up a lot, because I'm the oldest of the band.
Yes.
And they were very young, and the amount of growing up you do in 2 years between 16 and 18 is never going to be repeated. Sort of in 2 years' time, I'm not going to dramatically change. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
But when you're young, it does. And I think our reasoning was that, okay, we'd all sort of grown quite musically apart. We didn't like the same things, there wasn't so much commonality. Also, Victoria, so it was quite obvious she wanted a solo career. And we just thought, well
she was the glamorous one at the front.
Yeah, and why not? If no one sort of signed up for life.
Yeah.
And we just went with the opportunities that we were given. And I will forever be grateful for that. We got to do some amazing stuff that, people dream of doing. And I'm not going to knock it.
And of course, your legacy lives on even now. I mean, even now you get to still get out there and people will still love to go see you. And it must be fabulous after all these years that people still, I mean, myself, being much younger than obviously much younger than the audience at the time. I'm come lately into the Fuzzbox thing, but even I'm still interested in what you're up to, even now. So you've always got that you've made that impact, I guess.
Well, gratitude is something that is lacking a lot in the world. Instead of moaning, you accept you've made decisions, and maybe they're the wrong ones. Sometimes they're the right ones. But if you get, we travelled all over the world, and, sort of, I can't knock that.
So is there anything that the major label didn't get from you that they wanted, or did you just go with everything that they said?
They didn't get quite a lot. There's so much. There was talk of doing Irish Bride as a single, and what they wanted was like some, one of us to have a black eye and be in a wheelchair or something. And we just looked at them. We just went, no, just, that's not happening. We also, sorry, the front door. There was, so they wanted us to wear some other stuff, and we got out of that. We were quite rebellious, and a lot more. I'm just giving you a couple, but there was so much that we refused to do, and I think people would be surprised that how much we stood up to them.
How much input did the producers have in Big Bang?
A huge amount, because a lot of that was done on Fairlight, and obviously Andy Richards came through Psalm, Trevor Horn, and he's a musical genius, and he did a lot of the arrangements and stuff like that. But the songs were all written by us. We had co-writes, but all the songs were ours.
Had they started off as sort of fully yours and then got tweaked by the producers?
Well, production.
I mean, like the person who's listed, like there's a Liam, I think.
Liam Steinbach. He was a co-writer.
How did you start off writing together, or was it like you'd written a song and then he added parts?
It was both. So, I mean, there's sort of whole loads of songs that were written that weren't used. Liam's a very talented man, really lovely, but sort of music is a collaboration, unless you can write, produce, mix, engineer, master, and then do your bit on the produce your own vinyl, which is an art in itself.
Yeah.
You're collaborating.
Yeah. I should probably ask a few more questions. I don't want to keep you all night, but it's a bit hard to not when it's someone I have a very keen interest in, and you might have people might realise you've got bits of history in the music industry. Someone was asking if Pink Sunshine was about speed or something, about drugs, which I figured it absolutely.
Yeah. That here's another one.
Pink Champagne.
Pink Sunshine. Apparently there were some MDMA pills called Pink Sunshine, which I didn't know about.
Champagne, that someone said it is. Was Pink Sunshine actually about pink champagne speed?
No, not.
No, it's about a car, isn't it?
It's about. It was inspired by me and my dog Paddy. We'd go over, walk to the airport, and it was about imagining going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And the Pink Sunshine refers to the sunset, and I found out later the pink was caused by the pollution from the aircraft. It's not very romantic.
So it wasn't actually as nice as you thought.
No. Yeah. No. So it had nothing to do with drugs.
I didn't think that was a very fuzzboxy thing anyway. It doesn't seem.
We were mad enough.
Yeah, it's just sort of. It seemed more innocent fun in a way most of the time. Maybe I'm saying that wrong. I don't know, but Matt Moran mentions that you were his first teenage crush, which is nice.
Aww.
I'm sure he's still got a crush on you even now, but you've got a partner now, so he's out of luck.
Well, there we go. You've got to get him fast.
A friend of mine, John Carouche, said he was a metal fan until he heard International Rescue, and that turned him on to pop for the first time. So
I'm sorry about that.
he sort of changed his life, in effect, International Rescue. He suddenly became much more interested in pop music as well. I mean, he still likes metal, but, you know...
You can like... Here's the big secret. You can like whatever music you like. You know, you don't have to...
Big Taylor Swift fan here, you know. Have you... any, and being as you're possibly playing in Belgium, have you any plans to cover Plastic Bertrand? Asks Sean Morris.
Oh, do you know,
pour
I
moi.
would love to do that. Ça plan pour moi. Ça plan pour moi. Ça plan pour moi, moi, moi.
Well, you're covering it now anyway, so...
En quatre couleurs. I love that. I love that.
So
song.
exclusive. You've heard it here first, everyone. Also, Jason Pearson, or Dr. Magic, or whatever he wants to be called, of Sid 31, rather popular industrial hardcore punk band, says you transitioned from being an absolute awesome pure punk band into a pop band, and he wants to do the same. So have you got any advice?
Yeah, just learn your pop chords. It's quite simple. Sort of just turn down the fuzz, turn down the distortion, and you know, sort of think a bit more about your harmonics, and possibly listen to a lot of Phil Spector or something.
And he's a big fan of the Venga Boys anyway, so, you know.
The Venga Boys, oh my god.
You can like any music, but not that.
No, I think it's hilarious. I love it.
We're both big fans of the Cheeky Girls as well, so I unironically enjoyed the Cheeky Girls album. Whatever. I think it's just fun, all right. Yeah. I know it was clearly just a commercial product,
like
but
Cheeky Girls. I think they're funny.
Who would have thought? Yeah, and they almost in some ways could be argued they at times occupy a similar spirit to Fuzzbox. Paul Humphreys, not that one from OMD, asks, what's your favourite part of being involved in music? Is it the creative side or the social side of promoting?
Oh, it's definitely the creative side. I'm actually quite shy, so yeah, I find it very difficult in crowds to sort of be the big I am, like some pop stars can be like that. I was very much like, I've done my job now, can I go home? Can I go to... I was often... Do you know what I do at gigs? I do a recce. So I find the nearest local pub, right? And sort of find the door out. So I'd come off stage and I'd go, give me 5 minutes, run off, get changed, and go and have a glass of wine in the local pub and chill out, and then come back.
So that's the secret to being social, is it go and hang out in a pub and relax a bit before you... No,
it was the quiet. It was just like nobody knew who I was. Nobody cared who I was. Just having, 10, 15 minutes of just like, yeah, that's fine. Sort of it's all done. It's fine. And then go back in, and then I could do the second part of my job.
Sharon Halliwell asks about, have you any plans on releasing your back catalogue? Isn't it already re-released? International record, but in remix form, apparently, she's pondering.
Well, Sharon,
it's funny you should mention that.
Yeah, we got... it's really quite exciting. A producer called Mike Bennett has reimagined. It's not remixed, it's reimagined a lot of the Fuzzbox tracks. And some of them are astonishing. There's a bluegrass version of Pink Sunshine, for example. There's a soul version of South. It's some of them are just really out there.
And you've got a current new project, Melanie Williams, is it? You're working with coming up.
Yeah, she actually features on South, but I've got another project which I can't actually talk properly about, but I'm recruiting for at the moment artists. It's super exciting, and not since Fuzzbox have I had so many people so interested in what I'm doing. It's an amazing concept, and so far no one has said no to this, because it's really, I wish I could say, but it's such a bloody good idea. I can't even believe I had the thought.
You're not going to divulge any more details about it. You're just going to leave us with a tease like that, you.
It's definitely something that most of the audience that I imagine you have, you will all want to go and see this. It is going to be so good.
Sounds very exciting. If you need any industrial tracks making, just give me a call.
I will.
I'd love to see what you could do. Take Mags off of Fuzzbox into a more industrial, harsh direction. That could be very interesting. Do you still keep in touch with Tina, or have you perhaps drifted apart?
Oh, just drifted apart. So if Joe and Tina were really good friends, I was never sort of really Tina's friend, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I worked with her, but obviously when Joe died,
yeah, I suppose that connection kind of was lost.
She's got her own life. She lives somewhere like Worcester or something, and we just don't mix in the same circles, and people just drift apart.
It's not so simple for her anyway, due to family situations, I believe. And you don't have to go into anything, obviously,
I
recall hearing of that. So anyway, I think we've probably just about got as much as is necessary from you, but it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure to have had your attention for so long, when you're someone I've admired for so long. But thank you so much for all you've done musically, including the Rubbish Big Bang album, and for spending some time talking to Nitwit in Doncaster today. So I really appreciate everything you've done, and for being absolutely lovely and talking to me this evening.
No, it's my absolute pleasure.
It's a Monday morning and life is so boring. I hide under the covers, I don't want to get out of my